Good morning, my name is Cecilia Hernandez, and today I'll be talking about the Crusades with you, teaching you what are the most important facts about Crusades and what actually happened. First of all, we'll start with the introduction. What's the definition of the word crusade? It's a medieval military expedition, one of the series made by the Europeans to recover the Holy Land from the Muslims, and this happens in the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th century. Moving on now to our first crusades, we see our first crusades happened in the year 1096 through the year 1099. It played a very important role in the medieval England. The first crusade was an attempt to recapture Jerusalem, and also they were recaptured by the Muslims in the year 1076. It says that any Christian who wanted to pay a pilgrim to the city faced a very hard time. Muslim soldiers had made life very difficult to the Christians, and trying to get to Jerusalem was filled with danger for a Christian. This greatly angered all the Christians, and for example, we have an example. One Christian called Alexis, one of the Constantinople, he feared that his country must also fight to the Muslims, as it was very close to territory captured by the Muslim. And it says that in the modern day this city is called as Turkey. Alexis called on the Pope Urban II to give him help. So it says that these people were Christians. They were trying to save their lives because they were getting killed because of the religion too. So we could see here that many of them were facing hard times and were calling for help. Now let's moving on to our second crusades. Okay, it happened in the year 1147. After a period of relative peace in which Christians and the Muslims coexisted in the Holy Land, Bernard called for a new crusade when the town of Etza was conquered by the Turks. The French and the German armies marched to Asia Minor in the 1147, but failed to accomplish any major success, and indeed endangered the survival of the Crusade cities with a foolish attack on the Damascus. And in the year 1149, both leaders had returned to their countries without any results. So as we can see here, as the both attempts that they had no success. They both failed on those two attempts they had. Our third crusades happened in the year 1187. Saladin recaptured Jerusalem. The Pope Gregory, he preached a crusade which was led by several of Europe's most important leaders. One of them was Philip of France, Richard of England, and Frederick of Holy Roman Imperium. It said that Frederick drowned in Galicia in the 1990, leaving an unstable alliance between the English and the French. Okay, so now moving on to our fourth crusade. Our fourth crusade happened in the year 1202. And it was with the intention of invading the Holy Land through Egypt. We could see the Venetians gained control of this crusade and diverted into the Constantinople, where they attempted to place a Byzantine exile on the throne. After a series of misunderstandings and outbreaks of violence, the city was sacked in the year 1204. The popular spirit of the movement was now dead, and the succeeding crusades are to be explained rather as a rising from the papacy structure to divert the military energies of the European nations towards Syria. Our fifth crusade happened in the year 1213 to the year 1221. It was the attempt by the Catholic Europeans to reacquire Jerusalem and the rest of the Holy Land by first conquering the powerful Ayyubid state in Europe. The Pope Innocent III and his successor Pope Honorius III organized crusading armies led by the King Andrew III and the Hungarian of Duke Leopold V of Australia, and a foray against Jerusalem unlimited left the city in Muslim hands. Later, it says here that in the year 1213, a German army led by the Oliver of the Cologne, and a mixed army of Dutch, Flemish, and Frisian soldiers led by William II. County Holland joined the Crusades. In order to attack the Mieta in Egypt, they allied in Anatolia with the Seljuk Sultan of Rome, which was attacked by the Ayyubids in Syria. Is an attempt to free the Crusaders from fighting in two fronts. Our Sixth Crusade happened in the year 1228. As an attempt to regain Jerusalem, it began several years after the failure of the Fifth Crusade. It involved very little actual fighting. The diplomatic maneuvering of the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II, he resulted in the Kingdom of Jerusalem regaining control of the Jerusalem and other areas for 15 years. Our Seventh Crusade, as we could see, happened in the year 1243, and then the following year, the forces summoned by the latter stormed Jerusalem. Although this provoked no widespread outrage in Europe as the fall of Jerusalem in the 1887 had done. Louis II of France organized the Crusades against Europe from 1247 to 1254, leaving from the newly constructed port of Aigues Mortes in the southern France, and it said here that it was a failure, and Louis spent much of his crusade living at the court of the Crusade kingdom and the Acre. In the midst of the Crusades was the first Shepherd's Crusade in the year 1251. Our Eighth Crusade and second to last Crusade, we can see here, happened in the year 1270. The Eighth Crusade is sometimes called as the Seventh. In the Fifth and the Sixth Crusades of Frederick II are counted as a single crusade. The Ninth Crusade is also sometimes counted as part of the Eighth. But actually, what happened here is that Louis was disturbed by events in Syria when the Malik Sultan Baybars had been attacking the remnant of the Crusader state. Barbars had seized the opportunity after a war pitting the cities of Vince and Genoa against each other. It had exhausted the Syrian ports and that had two cities controlled. By the year 1265, Baybars had captured Nazareth, Haifa, Torn, and Asafruf. And also it said that this landed an eager to defend the city, while Baybars marched as far north as Armenia, which was at the time under Mongol control. And now moving on to our last and final crusade that we're going to be talking about today. It happened in the year 1271 to the year 1272. Louis V of France failed to capture Tunis, and the Eighth Crusade led Prince Edward of England to seal a creed in what is known as the Ninth Crusade. The Ninth Crusade saw several impressive victories from Edward over Baybars. Unlimitedly, the Crusades had no much fail as withdraw, since Edward had pressing concerns at home and felt unable to resolve the internal conflicts within the repent Altmere territories. It was arguable, but this crusade spirit was nearly extinct. By this period, it also foreshadowed the immense collapse of the last remaining crusade strongholds, although the Mediterranean coast. And now, this was all we know about crusades from our first to our ninth crusade. And thank you, and this is all I have for you today. Thank you. Have a nice day.